I said that Deion Sanders and Colorado needed to make a statement, and I think they did just that when they played Colorado State in Fort Collins.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now, through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a three-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcast. Sorry about going a little late on the live. Had a little doggo situation to take care of. I got a pup that needed me, so I had to go take care of the dog. But let's talk about the Dogs in Boulder because they took care of business against the Colorado State Buffaloes. And quite frankly, I went into this game thinking, hey, if Colorado State loses this game, the sky will fall basically around the country. Is that fair? Probably not, but that's how it felt, right? There was just so much negative energy around this team because they looked so bad last week. It was like, okay, the offensive line can't block. There's no run game. Shedeur Sanders was struggling. It was like, if Shedeur Sanders is struggling, that's the offense. And the defense, they gave up 21 points in the first half last week. And it kind of, while they shut Nebraska out in the second, it was far too little too late. So this week, I kind of went into the game a little concerned. And I said one of my keys before the game was Colorado's defense needs to play how they've been playing in the second half. They need to open the game that way. And they did. They forced a punt on the first drive, a field goal on the second. The only problem was Colorado went punt and missed field goal, which honestly, I think Mata seems like a great dude, seems like a great kid. His story is amazing, from Jackson State to becoming a citizen and all that. I don't think he should be the kicker. I think we have to turn somewhere else. He has missed, I think it's 3 kicks in the past 2 games, which is not great, to say the least. You look at, I'm going to pull up his split real quick. He was against Nebraska. He went a total of 1 for 2. And so he's 2 of 3. Oh, and then he missed one against Colorado. He went 1 of 2 against Nebraska, and then he missed 1 today. So he's 1 of 3 in his last 3 kicks. And so not the best showing that you want to see. I don't really know who they turn to at kicker, but I mean, if kicker is your biggest concern, that's the least of your worries. Back to the defense. I was really thrilled with how they came out, right? They shut Colorado State out basically in the first half. They gave up 1 field goal, which honestly, if that's Colorado went on an 8-play drive for 48 yards. And so I was like, oh no, they're going to score. Held them to a field goal. But then Colorado had a chance to miss, and they missed their field goal. Colorado forces a punt, forces another punt. And it was just one of those things where they kept forcing punts. And then finally they get on the board. I think it was Shedeur to LeJontay Wester for the first time of the game. And then another punt, touchdown Colorado. Now it's 14-3. Now we're cooking with gas. And what I like about this team, because I talked about Taylor Lewan, what he said the other day, and he compared this Colorado team to the Miami of the early 2000s, but not in a good way. He was saying they're Miami in the sense of they want to be like Miami, but they can't back it up. And today, I feel like for the most part, they backed it up, right? Braden Colsey Fowler, the quarterback for Colorado State, runs out of bounds, gives Travis Hunter the little, sorry, I'm sitting down in my chair, so you can't really see what I'm doing, but gives it a little, you're too small gesture. And Travis Hunter didn't really do anything. They kind of got in each other's face. Nothing happened. Well, then after that moment, Travis Hunter went on to score 2 more touchdowns, and he picked off Braden Fowler and Nicolesi later in the game. So it was like a full circle moment. Like, congrats, you got your little joke in while you were down 11. Now you're a meme, and not the way you want to go out. I think that's one of my biggest fears in life is becoming a meme that I don't love. Like, if it's a funny meme, like if it's the guy where he's like, or like that guy, I love that meme. But if it's a meme where I'm embarrassed, I obviously don't want to become that meme. And for Colorado State's quarterback, I think he became an embarrassing meme for himself. So the overall total, Colorado's only gave up 9 points. They realistically, I thought, kind of dominated this game on both sides of the ball. The trenches were the offensive line play much better this week. I think, let me confirm with my stats here. I don't think Shedeur Sanders was sacked. Or they sacked one time, which compared to a game where they sacked him 6 times last week and Colorado State got to him, I think it was 4 times last year. That was really good. So the defense was stout. The offense, I would say once they got things going, was good. Slow start again. Don't love that, right? I really need this Colorado offense to come out pumping. The only sack, actually, there was a sack. I got some in the comments saying it was on the offensive line. That's my fault. Shedeur Sanders ran behind the line of scrimmage and slid. That's a sack on him. So Colorado gets credit for that sack. So the offensive line really didn't give up any. Thank you for reminding me in the comment section. But yeah, I really loved what I saw from Shedeur. 36 of 49, 310 yards, completed 73% of his passes, 4 touchdowns, no picks, which surprisingly is the first time that's happened this season. Obviously, the one against North Dakota State was very fluky. What I loved, they ran the ball 19 times, 17 if you take away Shadeur's 2 rushes or times that he ran behind the line of scrimmage. Micah Welch led the way, 9 carries for 65 yards, averaging 72 yards per carry. Yeah, Michael Welch, congrats. You're the starting running back, and they should feed you the ball more often. Isaiah Augusta, the Arkansas transfer, also did really well. 6 carries for 31 yards, 5.2 yards per carry. The fact that they even, like, neither of these stats are lucrative, right? They're not like Ollie Gordon status where it's like, dude, he just ran for 300 yards. No, it's not that. But it's the fact that they were able to showcase that the run can be a weapon. And for the longest time, and still moving forward, because I need to see them do it again for me to consider this like a consistent or a behavior, right? They haven't been able to run the ball. So for them to string together 190 yards rushing, I'd have to go back, but I don't know the last time Colorado had 100 yards rushing, and I doubt it was during the Deion Sanders era. So really big performance from the running backs this week. You love to see that. And then defense needs a shout out for sure. 2 sacks, both of them Deion Hayes, according to Stat Broadcast. 6 tackles for a loss for the team, and then Travis Hunter had a pick, and then Preston Hodge had a pick. Really, really tenacious defense. They were making life miserable for the Colorado State offense. They got 6 quarterback hits on Braden Fowler-Nicolsi, and they also had a forced fumble on Levante Bentley. Was able to dive on a ball that I think kind of just kicked off the quarterback. So more of a blunder on Colorado State, but it was still a heads-up play by him. So you have to love that. And then also Levante Bentley recovered a fumble, and then BJ Green recovered a fumble. So one of those things where you have to really love how the defense showed up. They showed out, and the secondary, for a secondary that was missing Savion, Shiloh, and was really banged up, you have to, I think it was a really great showing. DJ McKinney led the team in tackles with 7 total, according to Stat Broadcast. Nakai Hill-Green was right behind him with 6, and I think Nakai Hill-Green is a bona fide star for Colorado. I think he should have been starting since week 1. Everyone makes mistakes. That's okay. But I really liked what I saw from him. And it was just an overall really sound showing. Because Colorado looked weak last week. It looked like any team that was able to be physical with them would beat them. And we all know how rivalry games get, regardless of how good Colorado State is, right? Like Colorado State's probably the 5th best team in the Mountain West, or the 5th best new Pac-12 team, whatever you want to call them. But they shouldn't hang with Colorado for the most part. However, when it's a rivalry game, things get weird, right? Things get a little wacky. When Colorado started off slow, I was like, oh no, here goes that rivalry energy, because you could feel it in the stadium. They were feeling amped up. They were feeling a little juiced. And luckily for Colorado, they flipped the switch and they figured it out. I would like to see them sort of start faster moving forward. And that's kind of been my biggest complaint with them so far, is how slow they start games on offense. I think that's more of a Pat Shurmur problem, a play calling thing. Also, I really have one big pet peeve. There was a lot of great coverage, man coverage. Yes, you guys are correct. What really upset me, what really grinded my gears, and they're lucky that it didn't come back to bite them in the you-know-what. 3 minutes remaining in the game, you're up 19, and you're throwing the ball. Incomplete pass. Luckily, there was a pass interference on when he threw it to Travis. Run the dang ball. Like, I feel like I'm Sandra Bullock in The Blind Side. Pat Shurmur, run the dang ball. You don't need to throw the ball every time. And if Shedeur is really the one checking out of all these run plays, be like, hey, this is a no-kill play. This is a no audible play. Like, you do not have You do not have clearance to switch the play here. We are running the clock out. Like, if that's a conversation that you need to have with Shedeur, have that conversation, because I think people are going to overlook it because it was such they were so far ahead. But imagine if Shedeur Sanders throws a pick six, right? And then all of a sudden it goes from a 19-point game to a 12-point game. And then next time 3-and-out, and all of a sudden they score again, and now it's a 4-point game. So it's one of those things where, yeah, it's kind of cute. It's kind of fun to be like, hey, we're going to run up the score, but they didn't score, right? They didn't really run it up. They weren't doing much. So be smart. Don't allow these teams to stay in the game with you. Don't allow these teams to feel like they have a chance, because honestly, in sports, really, or in life, the worst thing you could give to an underdog is the belief in themselves, right? If an underdog has belief in themselves, then they are going to feel like they can win the game. So really didn't love that from Colorado, but that's okay. A win's a win. They're 2-1. Let's talk about the momentum that I think they gained when we come back. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. 5 Hour Energy fixes tired fast. Whether you have a long list to do for work or a list of DIY projects to tackle at home, take a 5 Hour Energy shot so you could check off everything on your list. They have flavors where, first of all, zero sugar, and they have flavors like watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and more. And there's a flavor for everyone, so make sure to try them all. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5 Hour Energy product today, you could use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. And this offer is only valid until September 30th on one order. It cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. What is up, everybody? This is Locked On Buffs, the post-game recap. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Have quite a few people in the comment section. I appreciate you guys. It's one of those things where I love seeing Colorado win, but I don't love how they do it sometimes. But momentum-wise, I think they moved a mountain or so for this game, right? I personally projected the score to be, I think it was 28-14. I was actually pretty close. I'm not mad at that prediction at all. 28 points, correct. I overestimated Colorado State is what happened. They win 28-14, and it's not really so the win is important, right? How much they won by is more important to me in the sense that if they won this game closely and it got ugly or they needed overtime, I feel like this team has kind of shown that they're fragile mentally at times, right? They looked a little rattled against Nebraska after Shedeur Sanders threw that pick six. And so I knew they couldn't afford to start slow, and I knew they couldn't afford for this game to be close because the national media would have been down their throats being like, this Colorado team, fraudulent. Now, the win here, while it gets everybody in the building excited, right? This is a great win for everyone in the building. This win doesn't mean much in the big old landscape of this thing we call life. All it means right now is that you're 4 wins away from a bowl game, and you have a little momentum going into next week when you host Baylor. Baylor's going to come into town, homecoming. Baylor's a tough team. They have a really mobile quarterback in DeQuan Finn. They're a very physical team. Defensively, they're going to make life really, really difficult for this offense, and I think that's going to be something that I harp on all week because I think this offense needs to start better. I'm going to continue to say that. But overall, this is what the team needed. They needed to feel themselves win. They needed a game that's semi-high stakes because it's a rivalry game, so it's a little high stakes, right? They needed to feel that emotion of like, okay, we're on the right side. We won. Everything's okay for now. I think they had a really strong week of practice. Levante Bentley, Nakai Hill-Green really holding it down for the linebackers. The secondary looked a lot better this week. Offensively, the run game was just a nice surprise. Like, it was a cherry on top. When I did my keys to the game, I literally was like, the run game's never going to be a key because they don't run the ball. I still stand by that because I'm not going to rely on the run game until I see them do it more than one time. But it was nice to see them turn around, hand the ball off, get chunks of yards. Michael Welch, I didn't realize he reminds me a lot of Doug Martin. He's faster than Doug Martin, I think, but he kind of gives off that muscle hamster vibe. I think that's what they call Doug Martin, where he's just like really small and stout, but he's muscular AF. Like, the dude just gets it. He runs hard, fights for extra yards. Aside from making an impact in the rushing game, he also had a nice couple catches. The receivers, I think we got momentum for the right people, right? Outside of Travis Hunter, I think, and Jimmy Horn, LaJohntay Wester and Will Shepherd needed big games. And I think they had them, right? LaJohntay Wester, 5 catches, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns. Will Shepherd, 7 catches, 61 yards, right? For Will Shepherd, I feel like he's kind of been, I won't say irrelevant in this offense, but he had 5 catches combined in the first 2 games. So to feed him a little more, I think that does well for his mentality. We saw Terrell Timmons get in the game. And we just overall, I think this offense is building in the right direction. I need to see more from them. I'm loving what I'm seeing from the defense when they have everything together. That first half against Nebraska, not great. Again, though, if they're able to channel those second half adjustments and start with that, that's going to open a lot of doors for this team. This team can go from maybe a 6 to 7 win team to a maybe 8 to 9 win team if they're able to play complete football. But we have to see them play complete football. It's just one of those things where if you're not able to defend and be on offense at the same time, you will lose games and it will be tough. When we come back, I'm going to look ahead to the Baylor game. I'll talk about how Baylor did in their past couple games, and we will dive into all the fun. But first, quick little break. This episode of Locked on Buffs is brought to you by FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3 free week trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you could cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook today. What is up, everybody? Thank you guys for tuning into the Locked on Buffs post-game recap. The Colorado Buffaloes, if you weren't aware, they won 28-9. Much needed win, like I said. Gets them going in the right direction, gets them feeling a little confident, a little dip on their chip, and you love to see it. Let's look at Baylor. Okay, Baylor has played 3 games thus far. They're 2-1. They beat the living you-know-what out of Tarleton State. That's expected. They played Utah closely last week, but it's also worth noting that Utah quarterback Cam Rising was hurt. And so in the first half, Baylor was down 23-3, and then they scored 12 points, or they scored 9 more points in the second half, and Utah didn't score the rest of the game with freshman Isaac Wilson at the helm. So it's a little deceiving to see how close they played to Utah, but I think that shows if you don't really take advantage of their weaknesses. I mean, any team can score on you if you're not able to score. So this offense for Colorado, figure it out. Then this week, which I think this is a bigger win than people will give them credit for. I don't know how good Air Force is this year, because I do feel like there's always a mixed bag when it comes to Air Force. Sometimes they're really good, other times they're not so good. But they beat them 31-3, and they ran the ball all over them. They had 38 carries for 230 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground, and Sawyer Robinson actually got the start, so no Daquan Finn. Not too impressive out of Sawyer, 18-24, 248 yards, no touchdowns. But defensively, they were really making life difficult for the Air Force offense. They had 1 pick for 37 yards, and their kicker only missed 1 field goal. So if you're Baylor, what to know about Baylor? Physical team, and we'll do some crossover episodes this week. Physical team, they will run the ball, which for Colorado will be a good test. I think this is probably going to be maybe close to Nebraska, I would say. I was going to say they're probably the best run team that Colorado's faced thus far. That team's going to be UCF the following week, but Baylor's physical, they play hard, and so this Colorado team needs to keep up their energy, need to keep up the mentality, keep up the physicality, and let's see how far they go. I appreciate you guys for tuning in to Locked on Buffs, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. I will see you guys on Monday. Everyone have a great weekend, and Go Buffs.